As we journey through life, and we're going to talk about first the classic framework of a lifetime. The classic framework of a lifetime is that we're taught is we're born, we live, and we die. And we live, the approximate age can be anything. It can be anything from a week to 2 weeks. It can be anything from 12 years old to 50. But in general, the average age of a human being is somewhere in the mid to upper 70s. So we're born, we live an average of 70-some years. We're talking averages, and then we die. And we begin this journey, in an age, and there's a lot of people around us, a lot of people we know, a lot of people we love. And as we walk through this journey, what happens to the number of people around us? It goes down. And it goes down, in our classic model, it goes down because the people that were born ahead of us when we were born, they continue to move forward in life. And as they reach a certain point, the inevitable happens to them and they die, right? So the original group of people that we're born with becomes less as we go on, isn't it? And that's just a natural process in life. Nothing avoids that process. Everything's a part of that process. There's no way of getting out of it. It's just the nature of life itself. Now, what I thought was fascinating about the fact that I was guided to have all of you close your eyes, myself included, and reflect on where we started in our journey back in January and where we are now. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? How many people were with us when we started our journey? About 250, right? And now, how many people are with us in our journey? About 35, 40. People have stopped coming, other things to do, wasn't their thing. All the things I talked about in the first class, and if you go back and watch that first class, I talk about all this happening before any of it ever happened, because the forces that affect any way you look at life affect everything in life the same way. This group experienced a death, didn't it? Not just a death within ourselves. We all experienced a death within ourselves. As we know, we're not the same people that we were, 12 months ago. But we experienced a death within our community. And we all went through that together. We went through having people with us. We went through people leaving. We went through people being enthusiastic about it and people being disinterested. We went through people believing it was something really important, and then people finding that it really wasn't that important to keep doing it. We experienced the same thing in a group that we experience in a classic format of a lifetime. Now the difference was, when we started this group, I was very honest about the rules, what it's about, how this works, that this is going to happen. I made it very clear to all of you that this was what was going to happen. That I wasn't going to try and keep it going. I was going to let it distill down to its normal amount. We were going to be adaptive as far as whether it continued at all or not. And it was going to be exactly what it was going to be. Now, wouldn't that be helpful if from the moment you were born, someone was telling you that? From the moment you were being held in someone's arms, they were telling you, there's going to be a day when I'm not doing this anymore. There's going to be a day when I'm not on this earth with you. There's going to be a day when when a lot of people you love are not going to be here anymore. And it's important that as much as you feel the love that I have for you right now, you also feel the truth that will inevitably become undeniable in your life. But we don't. We don't talk about that. We talk about death to young people in ways where we try and help them understand it because we don't believe they understand it. Okay, this is all classic format of life. We don't believe they understand it. So the first thing we're telling them is, you're not an infinite soul. You haven't been here before. You don't understand how this works. Let me explain it to you in a way you'll understand. So we automatically assume that they don't, because their brains are young, that their spirits don't have a real understanding of what it's all about. So that's interesting. I'm not saying it's inappropriate or appropriate. I'm saying it's just interesting. It's interesting that our level of openness about the inevitable process of life is just intertwined with a lot of denial. Because we've all been, those of us who've been coming and those who've kind of been in the group and been out of it, but I see a lot of the same faces as we distilled down to this group, How long is 12 months? Yeah. How long did it really feel? Blink. A couple weeks. I mean, how long? It's, we say, a year, but it isn't. It's a moment. So how do we define a moment? Well, we've made a habit of defining a moment as, that's a moment. Well, really, how we define a moment is relevant to where we're putting a moment within. So if you look at a moment in our lifetime, a moment could be this big. But if you look in the moment of, a universe, it's a different scale. The moment within an eternity has a different scale than a moment within a 75-year-old lifetime. Now, the classic view of a lifetime, quite frankly, it's all built to incentivize a person to get as much as they can done. It's all based on limited time, limited time, limited time. So you're coming from this place of you only have so much time. And you're facing an inevitability. And again, there's other cultures there's other cultures that talk about, incarnation in multiple lifetimes. And I'm not disregarding that, but even in those cultures, there is you're dealing with a limited physical lifetime. You're in this for a physical lifetime. And then you're going to incarnate into another physical lifetime. Just think of the nature of that belief system and what it does to what we're still calling an individual. Does it nurture a peaceful environment? Does it nurture a sense of calm? Does it nurture? No. Does it nurture a sense of consciousness? No. It nurtures a sense of fear, dread, inevitability. Not because you're told about it, because you're made aware of it in a kind, loving way, but because you're made aware of it because you had to face it. Okay? For most of us, the first time we deal with death in a traumatic way is when we lose someone we love. When I say someone we love, that can include a really dear pet. You have to look at it. You have to look at what does it do to the individual? What does it do to the individual to believe what they believe? And hopefully over the last 11 months, I've helped you all take a good look at what do you believe? And what is it doing to you? How does your practice, The practice is all about the practice of living. How are you living your life? That's all the practice is about. How are you living your life? Now, religions tell us, and a lot of things tell us how to live our lives and rules to live our life by. But the practice takes you to a much deeper space of how are you experiencing your reality? First of all, in what context are you experiencing it? Are you experiencing it in a context of time? If so, are you conscious of the implications of experiencing your reality in a context of time? So, how are you experiencing it? What context are you putting it in? And what context are you putting it in is very important because context, directly affects meaning. So just the practice makes us aware of what are we doing? How are we living? What is it based in? What is it based on? How are we seeing it? And how we're seeing it either bringing us to a higher space of consciousness with a lot of suffering or allowing us to achieve a higher level of consciousness with as little suffering as possible? Is how we're seeing life bringing us to a place of consciousness and causing a lot of collateral damage? Or is it allowing us to come to a higher space of consciousness in a way that's as easy on everyone and everything around us as possible? Well, I can tell you something. If you believe life is based in time, you're going to be more prone to be a bull in a china shop in your life. You're going to be very focused on getting and achieving what you need to achieve, how you need to achieve it, when you need to achieve it, because I've only got so much time here. And the neat part is that I'm able to speak about living in a context of living eternally in my life right now, because that's where I live from. But I'm able to do it admitting full well that I was born, believing, and completely convinced in a context of time. Even though it didn't make sense to me, okay? I was, in this lifetime, it didn't make sense to me. But I can't deny it that I believed it. The only way I can explain how I've gone from the consciousness that I was born at and the consciousness that I'm at now is by conscious incarnation. I did not live enough lifetimes to experience enough things to achieve the level of wisdom that I have experienced in the amount of moments I have been alive, in and of my own fruition. There's not enough ego in me to deny that. That what has happened to me in my experience is beyond my own ability to accomplish it. Therefore, it had to be brought about by a force beyond myself or my comprehension. Because I can't explain it. That comes from being very honest about where I started in my life, okay, and very honest about where I am. In that context of time, I have no other explanation except that conscious incarnation exists, that I have gone through multiple lifetimes of enlightenment because my resistance to enlightenment was so low. And because of my resistance being low, I was able to experience an exponential increase in enlightenment that would have taken me otherwise multiple classic lifetimes to get to. And I know that that's true because my form has gone from one that was arthritic and crippled to one that has no pain and is fully functional and flexible and has no issues.